Okay, good morning again. This is Rabbi Shlomo Furst here, Yeshiva Tsama Nafshi, here in Yerushalayim here Kodesh, and we are learning Mishna Berura a week away from Purim, and we are now continuing on in Taf Reish Tzadi Hey, and the halacha is as follows: Chayev l'shaloch ber shtei monos. This is the halacha of shalach monos. That's in Sif Daled. Yeah, who would like to read?
It's your turn.
Okay.
Chayev l'shaloch lechavero shtei manot. He's obligated to give to his friend two manot. Basar or shamini achlim, or meat or other foods. Shnema umishloach manot yishtarehu. Manot is in the plural. Shtei manot li'ish echad. Two foods. There's two foods that have a different bracha.
No, it doesn't say that.
Yeah.
People, it doesn't
How do
say
you do
that.
that then?
An apple and orange is two foods.
Yeah.
Or an apple and cake. If you want to get a fruit and a cake,
Yeah,
it doesn't have to be just brothers.
Look, let's learn what the Mishna Berura says, the halacha, and then because then there's a lot of talk about extra things which you're not necessarily seemingly obligated to do. We learn the halacha, the Mishna Berura, and the Mechaber, and there are more what they say, and then we'll see what these extra things about has to be two separate brachas, yes or no. Does it have to be? I even saw that they said that it should really be something which is eaten within the Suda. So if they send sweets and these kind of things, desserts, it's not really so good. But again, this is not. We'll see if that's really something which the halakha calls for or not. Again, chayev l'shaloyach l'chaveiro. You're obligated to send to your chaveiro, and the Chavero, remember, I think it was brought down B'Shem Eliyashiv, who says what about sending to parents? Chavero, that might exclude, you might maybe a Rebbe or your parents or relatives. Nobody says he said actually it's quoted. I didn't see in the story that actually sending to parents is the very best way you can fulfill the mitzvah. And you also get a mitzvah ki without also you do it as well. Okay. Yeah, go ahead again, Rabbi.
Shloch manot yishtarehu. Shtei manot leish echad. V'chol mabeh shloch rein meshubach. And the more that you do this, it's more to praiseworthy.
Okay, let's stop here and let's see the Mishna Berura. That's in Sifkat Yud Ches.
בתשובת בניין ציון, סימן מ"ד, הסתפק עם הביא בעצמו המנות, לא על ידי שליח, he didn't give himself, didn't send anybody else, לא על ידי שליח או יוצא, if he's fulfilled the mitzvah.
Because it says shalach monos, it's like you should send monos, you should send it. So the Binyan Tzion is questioning the fact whether it has, if a person sent it not through a shliach, can he be yotzi or not? Let's say I get delivered to myself. I take my shalach manos to the davening. After the davening, I give it to my friend, sits next to me for the whole year. He's a very nice davener. We talk after davening, and we like each other very much. And get right on the spot, I give it to him right from my hand to his. Am I yotzi? Because I didn't send it, I gave it. You can see, because it said u'mosholach. Right?
Shalom.
Shalom Aleichem. Can. Come in, please. No, I'm fine. We're learning the Mishna Berura right now about Hilchos Purim.
Good. Thank you.
We just started a few moments ago, and we're learning about Sholach Monos. And the person has an obligation on Purim to send Sholach Monos, to send two food gifts to one person. That's your minimum requirement. So now the Mishna Berura is
Sorry, to give to two persons is not good.
no, it has to be one package containing two gifts to one person.
Yes, thank you.
That's the minimum. You
Yeah.
give more. You give as much as you want.
Yes, yes,
Yeah,
yes.
right, but not one to one and another
Yeah.
one to another. Needs to be two to minimally of one other person. Yeah, fine, no problem. Good. And, that's why we do this now, because after from one year to another, you
Yeah,
have to
good
review.
trial.
You have to review. And now the question arises that the Mishna Berura speaks about is it since it says sholach u'musholeach, it should be sent. So the point is raised that it really could be that you have to actually have it sent. Not that you deliver it yourself, but you send it through the means of a messenger of some sort. But it could be right, just from one person to the next. I'll just give it to Israel and you'll give it to Rakami. It doesn't have to be that you're not there. It could be right on the spot. You just pass it down one to the other one. So at Lidkatchila, it's apparently the Mishna Berura's opinion that you should be careful to have it sent. At least one of them have to be sent. If once you've done one sent, and you're yotzi with that, then you don't have to be particularly makpid about it.
You start from here, Yud-Chet, Dalek Yud-Chet.
Good.
The Mishna Berura, Yud-Chet. Yishloach, Shuvat Binyan Tzion Siman, Mem Dalet, Mistapek, Im Hevi Batsamo, Hamanot, Velo Ayideh Shliach.
By the way, the Bini Tzion lived 100 and maybe 150 years ago, at least maybe, in Germany, Rav Ettlinger, and he was very active in battling against the Reformed Jews in Germany at the time.
Kevan Dichtiv, Mishloach, it is written Mishloach, to send. Nema Davayinan, is it to say that, that you need Dafka Ayidei Shlichut, specifically by way of a messenger. And Shem.
Okay, so the Mishna Berura seems to be indicating that that's Lidkatchila what you should do. And so best to have it sent through the means of a agent, a messenger.
And this cannot be done in a nighttime, can it?
No, it
No.
should be done during the day. Because really it's supposed to be the one of the main purposes of the mitzvah of Shalach Manos is that everyone should have food enough to enjoy in their feast on Purim. So if you send it to them before Purim or in the night, maybe you get it
Lead it
eaten
up
before,
and
and then he doesn't have
whatever.
anything to celebrate on the day of Purim.
Okay. Yutet?
Yes, stay manos.
Shtemanot, two
Portions.
Baniyim ikpidu, with the aniyim, the poor people ikpidu, and shnei aniyim, the mitzvah lechalek. You have to give with the, I guess, they said, manot and matzot levinim.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll
We're not
give
talking
them-
about
No, we're not.
This is
We're not-
Huh?
This we're talking about Mishloach Manot.
Let's sing it.
We're not talking about
That it's better to give to poorer people than to give to the richer people. Because if you give Mishloach Manot to the poorer, you're doing the double header, right? That's the way I
that's
understand
one
it.
thing. Yeah, right. Shve'anim, right, shtei manos, b'amin makpidu. Item shtei aniyim, the mitzvah lechalek. Now, I mean, that really is, it needs to be understood what the Mishna was trying to tell us up here. V'anim makpidu, item shnei aniyim, the mitzvah lechalek. Ma she'en kein ba'asher dedai, v'shenoisin le'echad. I mean,
Sorry.
Yes.
This sentence, aniyim, are we switching it to Matan Sivyanim?
No,
No,
apparently
still-
not. No, this is still in reference to Shalach Manos, not the Matanis Lev Yoni.
So it's not tzedakah. What have poor people got to do with it? I'm missing something here.
Yeah.
We used to give young candies.
Right. So well, see, what is the Mishna Berura saying? Is if you're going to be giving to a niyim, right?
Yes.
Meaning, let's say your Shalach Manos is going to people who are poor, right? Maybe
Yes.
that's what you want to do. So you should be careful, right, to give to two a niyim.
Yes.
Right? The mitzvah lachalik. Now, I'm not.
Sounds like it sounds like
Koi al amilim shtei monos leish echad. So, I tell you the truth, if you, in my edition you have a star. There's a bit of a confusion here. What's being referred to here? L'chora hasif katan koi al milim shtei monos leish echad. Shtei monos leish
You've
echad.
got that.
But not a yid.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's good. I've got that. Maybe he's also poor. It's not forbidden.
So
What does it mean, the mitzvah lechalek? What does that mean?
yeah.
sounds like
The
what's
mitzvah
the
lechalek.
He's saying
Yes,
still
the
20,
matanot
that's what you have to
v'yavim
do.
v'gam shlach manot
That's what
v'chavana.
they mean.
We're
So what you have
talking,
to
but
do.
we're talking
The
about
shnei
this.
aniyim,
Why
the
would
mitzvah
you change it
lechalek.
just for that one line?
Lechalek.
This is
They
different.
must know.
One moment.
So what is he saying about
I'm not sure this was
שתי עניים צריכים לחלק. מה, מנה אחת לכל אחד או שתיים לכל? זה שתיים.
I understand that if you're giving to the poor person, it's good to give more than one person. That's what I
Right.
understand.
שתי מונס לאיש, שתי מונס לאיש אחד,
Right.
שתי מונס לאיש אחד. So again, it says, look back at the Mechaber. It says here, Chayev l'shalorech l'chaveiroi, you're obligated to send to your friend 2 monos,
Yes.
basar, or shomini ochlim, of meat, 2 monos of meat, or of other types of foods. Shenemar says in Mushlech monos lish l'regel. Shtei monos leish echad. You're supposed to send 2 monos, right, to ish echad.
Yeah.
So that star is telling us that this notation of the Mishna Berura is really going on that last statement of the Shulchan Aruch. Shtei monos leish echad, meaning true. You're really supposed to give 2 monos, 2 portions to one person. But let's say you're only dealing with poor people, right? Let's say we're in a secluded situation, and there are only 3 of us here. Let's say there's me and 2 other people, and they're both poor people. So what should I do? Should I give one person 2 portions and the other one not get anything,
Oh,
right?
Yes.
Right? Or is it better that I give 1 to one and 1 to another? I think that's what the Mishna Berura
That makes sense.
is speaking about.
Could be Yotzi 2 mitzvahs in one shot.
No, you're not being Yosef.
Why not? Why can't
So
you?
you have to give 2 matanos, two mishlach manos to one person. And here you're dividing the mishlach manos to 1 and 1. So you're not sending 2.
So,
yes.
meaning...
But that's better because you're helping 2 poor people.
Then you can do this mitzvah
Well,
in the same shot.
Or
That's what you have to do.
perhaps, let's say I'm sending a loaf of bread, and I'm sending a roast beef, right? Loaf of bread, roast beef. So
Half a roast and half a roast.
So maybe that's what the Mishna Berura is explaining. I spend half a loaf and a half a roast beef.
Right. That
And a
makes
half a
sense.
loaf, and maybe that's what he said, rather than spending just 1 a loaf of bread and 1 a roast beef, because in that way, I
You're right.
probably won't be yotzi.
You're right.
If I have to
You
spend 2.
divide up the amount of what you're giving to
Right.
2 people, then you still are yours.
Because it's only,
Because there's a need.
Yeah,
So
right.
when you're dealing with a situation where you have limited funds and there are people who are needy, right, it's better to send out to many, right, and maybe reduce the amount that each one's going to get, but at least everyone will get.
Uh-huh.
I think that's what the Mishna Berura is
Makes sense.
indicating here.
Makes sense.
And in contrast, Mashain Kain Ba'ashir, it's enough that you just give it to 1. You don't have to give it, meaning it's just the east, because the Mechaber said you have to give 2 monos to each echad, 2 portions to 1 person.
Yes.
So that's if it's a rich person, right? And the rich people. So I just give 2 more portions to 1 rich person, and I'm fine, everyone's happy. He's got a little extra, and I've done my mitzvah, so everyone's happy. But if you're dealing with poor people, that some people may get and some people may not get, so it's a mitzvah to split it up, to see that as many people can get, will in fact get,
Yeah.
right? That's I think what the Mishna Berura is saying over here. Chaf Dalid, that's in the charts.
Why do you say shnei aniyim if there are more?
True, Nechanami.
Yefet.
Yeah, Nechanami.
That
Yeah,
means we would have to maybe break up the 3, the cut the roast beef into 3.
yeah. If you're right, yeah.
I like
And if you have 10, make sandwiches. Right?
Yefet.
We'll do that.
Make 10 sandwiches. Now it's a question: is a sandwich one Mona or 2 monas. That's
So you
it.
make the sandwich of the bread, lettuce, tomatoes, and you put the meat on the side. Now you have
Oh,
to-
that's easy. That's easy. But if you make a sandwich, if you make the sandwich all ready to go, right? So that's a question. I'm not convinced that it's 2.
Mm.
I'm not sure. I don't know. Yeah. Let's go see now the next Mishna Berura in Sifkat and Chav. Right? Mini oichlin. There should be either bus or the Machaber mentioned. Right? The Beis Yosef mentioned there should be 2 portions of meat or other types of food. Mini oichlin. Rashi. The Mishna Berura. Excuse me.
V'lo begedim.
Ushar devar.
You can't give clothing or other things.
Right. Some people like to give svarim, gifts, and things like this. Sometimes they put it in nice baskets. Sometimes put it in nice bowls or things like this with, the useful items, kitchen items or things like this. So it's all very nice, right? But that's not part of the mitzvah.
The mitzvah should contribute to the meal.
That's right. The main goal of the Shalach Manas is that people should have what to eat and enjoy on Purim. When we instituted the mitzvah of Purim, we institute the mitzvah of the feast of Purim, and the drinking of Purim, and the giving gifts to the poor, and also to the sending of food gifts to your friends. And all those 4 things were interrelated in that we wanted to make sure that everyone should be able to feel that they have absolutely everything that they possibly could want on Purim, and they could celebrate to their heart's content. So if you want to try and make people happy, try and make them be happy. And that's what we're going to see, that if not specifically mentioned in Mishna Berura, that you have to send the foodstuffs and also the money to the Matas early enough in the day that people have a chance to make use of it. It should be that they have a reasonable chance if you give them, let's say you give them a check, right? But they should be able to get to a bank and cash the check. If you send them food, it should be reasonable enough time that they should make use of the
So you
food.
can give somebody frozen chicken?
There's a question about
There's a
that.
machlokes about that, I think you
Yeah,
can.
but
What's
some,
machlokes?
some days,
Frozen chicken, frozen raw chicken,
Ah,
because it can't be eaten right away.
right, some poskim are not in
Yeah.
favor of it.
that's interesting.
Yes.
But fresh raw chicken, they say that there is okay, because you can get fresh raw meat also, because they say it's ready to be cooked. You can just have to cook it up. But frozen is a.
It's really, if you give kids candies, it means they're supposed to have lots of candies for their meal.
Yeah,
The
this-
mom might not like it.
yeah, no, the parents are usually not so happy, but they look at that's the way it is, Baruch Hashem.
Okay.
But
What did you do 50 years ago?
probably
They,
get
they,
good,
they,
good,
cooked,
wholesome,
they cooked the meals and they gave each other meals.
good wholesome food. They gave good wholesome.
That's right.
Didn't you look at packs of raisins?
Not in my time. My mother spent weeks preparing their pastries for
Really?
for weeks. It
Cooked
was
and
all
tough
homemade.
for them?
That was all homemade.
Wow.
Pastries and then Moroccan pastries, which is a lot of work. So
Yes, sir.
weeks and weeks was.
For years it used to be. I used to have a certain friend and his family come over to us. So I have we'd make a trout with all vegetables and like. So when he'd come in, I'd have it on a platter. I'd give him the fish and the trout and all the vegetables. And I said, "This is your shalach manas. It's yours."
Okay.
And,
You're lucky you didn't go home and eat it at home.
Yeah. And he wanted to eat the rest of the day. They brought roast beef and other stuff. So we did.
Yeah, that's a real mitzvah.
Yeah, sure. So let's continue.
Okay.
Right, so it should not be begudding or shard the bar.
Yes.
What din mashke?
The shop or dummy. And likewise,
Shop
drinks are very good, right? Drinks, sending drinks is very good. It's a perfect way to fulfill your mitzvah.
Bottle of scotch is good.
Oh yeah.
It's the best
Even
way
2
to
bottles.
What din mashke shapedami? It's good. Shtia b'chal achila. That drinking is part of eating.
Good.
V'chen sagi,
Yes.
and this is enough.
Sufficient.
Sufficient. B'chad ochel b'chad mashke. V'chen sagi b'chad ochel b'chad mashke. Oh, if it's food or drink.
Now,
And
One of each.
One of
It
each.
seems to be, it's not clear 100%, but it seems to be that the Mishnah was indicating that if you sent 2 drinks, it wouldn't be so good.
Right, you're right.
It seems to be
You're
indicating
right.
that way.
You're
But
right.
v'chein sagi be'echad oichel be'echad mashma.
Right.
He's not saying it specifically outright,
But you
but
should try
you could see in the words of the Mishna Berura
Right.
between the lines that 2 drinks would not be so good.
Sorry, because it says 1 eats and 1 drink.
Yeah, because it's enough. It's sufficient if you send 1 drink and one
Oh,
food,
one
something food.
solid.
But it's not necessary. It's not necessarily so.
Right.
You could see it in the Mishna Berura, but I think he's perfectly avoided it. So if you send 1 bottle of wine and 1 bottle of beer, right? So
you might be able to.
you probably should be able to be yoitzi. If you want to be careful, so you send the bag of potato chips over with the beer and the wine. You know. Now, next, the eating, sheyeh min, go ahead.
והנה need שיהיה מין אוכל המבושל ולא בשר חי.
Oh, so you see, that was the question
Go on,
on the
go
Rosh
on.
question. You see the Mishnah for himself. You see the should type of a food that's been cooked previously, right? Well, not raw meat. Why?
משלוח מנות ראוי מיד לאכילה משמע.
Right, so it says sholach monos, meaning it doesn't say mishloach oichel. If it says mishloach oichel, that means you would send food, whether it's cooked, it's not cooked, right? But it says monon, you're sending him a dish, meaning you're sending something which is a portion, a portion.
Yes.
ראוי מיד לאכילה משמע. It's ready to eat. יש אומרים, this is to say, שהוא שחוט. ראוי להתבשל מיד שרי.
So it's already shot and it's all kosher, it's ready to be cooked. So it's
Right.
okay.
Even minimally shachted, whether it's kosher or not, maybe not also. I mean, but yeah. So so you have if you send raw meat, you have on Yesh Lismo. You have on who to rely if you're sending raw meat as well. Okay. Next point, before we go to the next point in the Mechaber, there's a bit of a Bir Halacha here that's worthwhile seeing. Bir Halacha is on the previous page, which we just moved off of, on the right-hand side in the smaller print in the middle of the page. That's called the Bir Halacha. You're obligated to send to your friend. Okay? Mr. Berg quotes the Chayod. Everyone have it there?
No, I'm sorry. I see the small print here. Oh, yes.
Okay. חייב לשלוח לחבר וכולי. אחרי אדם הוכיח, proved, מן ירושלמי, אם שולח להשאיר דבר פחות. If you're sending to a rich person something that isn't worth very much, אינו יוצא בזה משלוח מנות. He hasn't fulfilled the mitzvah of משלוח מנות.
Right. So let's say you have a friend, and he happens to be a nice, he's well off, and if you send him a bottle of beer and a packet of potato chips, he's not going to be too appreciative of that. He said, this is what he sends me. He doesn't care about me too much, right? I'm on the list like everybody else. He's sending out 100 bottles of beer and then 100 bottles of potato chips. So if you're sending to a person who's important, a chashuv, and
that's a nice halacha person. I'll tell you why. Because you're putting for an average person.
Right.
Okay, you're putting a lot of money for the rich man, and you have other people who aren't as rich who are better off getting a better package.
Right.
So you're going to take the better package, give it to the rich man because it doesn't look good for him, and the other people who are in middle class are going to get regular stuff. They're going to get it. So I don't think that thing. I think it should be only because it's Purim.
Right.
That the beggar packages should go to the average family, and the rich man should get what everybody else gets.
Okay, a very good point. Now let's look at it from another point of view. One of the other purposes of this particular mitzvah of Sholach Monos L'Reyehu, right, is that since by Purim the unification of Klal Yisrael to do tshuva and to accept the Torah fresh and anew from HaKadosh Baruch Hu, that was the key part of our success and our redemption and our saving by Kadosh Baruch Hu, that we were unified,
Okay.
right? And as a matter of fact, the Binyan Beis Sheni that was built because of the fact that we were unified amongst each other, and what destroyed it was Sinas Chinam, right? So therefore, built into the mitzvahs of Purim is that we want to be Marba Reus, we want to increase friendship.
Okay.
Yes.
Right? So, if you send something which is not worthy of a rich person, right? You're not upgrading yourself in his eyes. And that's just the way he's going to feel. You're not increasing friendships between you and him, right? It's true if I have limited means, right, and I can send to poor people, right, and they will really need it and they would really use it and really appreciate it, and I could do a lot more and get a lot more appreciation going with less money than I send just one. You know, this guy, unless I send him the top scotch in the world, he's not going to be happy with that, right? So, instead of spending 300-400 shekels on a bottle of scotch, I can spend 25 shekels, and give it to 20 people, 20-30 people. So, what's lacking? Because when you send something which is not acceptable in the eyes of some other recipient, you're not increasing the friendship between you and him.
Yes.
Right? So therefore, that's going counter to the purpose of the mitzvah,
Yes.
to increase the friendship. You want to do something which is to increase the friendship, right?
Yeah, but shouldn't it be, being that we're so worried about the poor people, and Tanoslav Yonim, and how to act to them, that the rich man, being that he's not going to, whatever you send him, he's not going to need it average times, okay?
Right.
And I know I've seen this happen, okay?
Yes.
Because I worked in Toronto where all these rich people send me all their chocolates and all their candies and all their stuff, okay? And even some of the bottles of scotches that they got, so I can use it for fundraising, right? So I know it's not appreciated. So
Yeah.
why am I wasting my time with worried about how this? Okay, we want to make him happy.
Right.
Find another way to make him happy. But to say go buy him a bottle of scotch, and this guy only drinks 25-year-old scotch at $400 shekels. So you buy him $100, 100 instead of 400. That $100 can give 20 other people shalach manas.
Right.
So what? No, but he's saying because of friendship we have to do it. But I'm saying
Yes.
the other point is that these people, they give all their stuff away anyway. So shouldn't be worried more of the people than of making his honor? I'm just that it's halacha, it's halacha. I'm not.
No, right. Look, first of all, you should realize that the Chavetz Chaim reserved this for the Bir Halacha. Okay, so number one, the main stream of halacha is the Mishna Berura, right? So certainly you're Yotzi. If you don't do like the Bir Halacha, you're certainly going to be Yotzi.
Yes.
There is the opinion of the Chayadim, right? So you have a decision to make, right? If you know, like you've got to send this guy. He's your boss. Like if you don't send him shalach manas, there's going to be bad feelings between you and him. He's expecting something from you. You're expecting something from him. That's just the way it is. But he happens to be one of those people, right? He drives that kind of car. He wears those kind of shoes.
When you come to a boss, you're not talking about the average friend. Okay, come to a boss, like you said, you have to give.
Right. I was just
A boss doesn't count because you want to make a good example, so he doesn't count. But we're talking about an average of neighbors.
Okay, so let's say your neighbor, a friend of yours, right? But he's not. You know that his standard of living is not.
And I know I'm never going to get to that point with him.
Oh, so according to the Chayadim, in the Bir Halacha, you have a somewhat of a dilemma.
I do have a dilemma.
You have a dilemma, right?
I never did this.
My Rebbe never gave him. I one time gave
What?
Sorotsky, and he has all the masdots. You go into his house and you have breads that bring 17 types of
They're
breads,
loaded
and
with-
they're
they're loaded
magavot, and they even gave him a Sefer Torah. 1 year, they gave him a Sefer Torah.
Well, you have to say it's not
They bought a Sefer Torah. So
Not yet.
they give him, I'm bringing him with the 100 shekel over there with the bottle. So one time I bought yes, I never get one.
Yeah.
So
So
you can say that you're laughing at it.
right. So again,
And
you
he
have
goes, like you said, he gives it out.
That's what I'm saying. So why are we putting our effort
It's
into
really
this?
because some people, they come pick it up, take it away.
I'm saying, so why are we putting our effort into making one person happy when you can
Right.
take
So,
them and
so
divide that?
I would suggest like this, that if you again you have one you're chayav to send to one person 2 manas, right?
Right.
So if you want to be yotzi or misses, like what's the primary, you've got a mitzvah to fulfill.
Right.
You've got to watch out for yourself,
Right.
right? So what I would say is if you've got a choice, you've got your rich friend who's not going to be happy with, and let's say money doesn't mean much to you. You'll be willing to spend the 400
Yeah, the
shekels for
money,
shop.
that's a problem. Let's do it, of course, do it the right way.
No, no.
So we're talking about,
No, no.
I worked as a youth director, you know, I'm on a
Tell me
budget,
that
I had a
now.
whole shul to supply. We had some very rich people, and some of them were very good friends of ours.
Right.
If I would have put on so much money to a bottle of scotch and make them happy, I wouldn't have money to give to anybody
No,
else.
so this is what I'm trying to say. If you have this
Tell
dilemma,
I'll be
Tom,
honest,
that's
I mean,
all. You're not down this week, that's all.
if you have this dilemma, and what your dilemma is how to fulfill your mitzvah, not to make him happy, that is a totzah, that's a consequence, that's a spin-off, right? You're trying to decide how are you supposed to fulfill your mitzvah, right? I mean, when you have to, maybe ask Shana, we get to Shemayim and they go through all the Purims every year, they're going to say, well, did you do Shloach Manas? And they said, okay, let's take a look, right? So if you want to fulfill your mitzvah, right, and get a mitzvah out of it, which is what you should be trying to do, right? But you're doing it l'shem shamayim, and you have a choice to give something to somebody who is not going to be happy, right, with what you give, or to give something who is going to be happy to give, right? You should avoid giving to a person who is not going to be happy.
How do you avoid?
No, don't give it. Don't give it.
Don't at all. I mean, I can't do that. I can't do either.
No. Again,
I can't do either. So I give what I what's within my thing. That's
So you feel bad, you walk in the house.
I learned. I have to live within my budget. I learned that in my kind of line. I worked as a youth director. I was in a very close salary as a youth director and everything. So we lived very tightly. Baruch Hashem, kids are great. But to say that, but not to send them, I wouldn't do that.
No,
Especially, so we send something. We send the package.
But again, first, number one is you have one mitzvah to do. If you
So we gave the regular people.
Kol amar be l'shalech l'reim meshubak. It's praiseworthy. But your one mitzvah that your blue chip mitzvah that you're going to put your money on to be yotzi with, right? You should do that in the best way possible. So don't choose the rich person who's not going to be happy.
He's saying more. He's saying that if you send him something that he's not going to be happy,
right. You're not yotzi, right? So
you're not yotzi with him.
You're not yotzi with him. So you're not going to don't send it. If you don't have that money and he's not going to, don't send it to him. The guy was going to get the million, presents, and he's not going to. You try and pick somebody.
No, let me explain you. I'm saying different. I'm going to send. I may not be yotzi with him, but I'm yotzi with everybody else.
Yes. Right.
She's your two favorite things.
So that's what's nogea l'maisa. That's what's relevant. If you have, if you're putting your money to do that mitzvah, right? Don't use, unless you can fulfill that mitzvah in the way that is going to be according to the chayotim, right? Don't pick to do that mitzvah with that in that open. I'll have to stop here because we've gone over time, and we can discuss tomorrow more. Mitzvah Shem.